Hey everyone, my name is Tomas and welcome to this beginner-friendly Linux tutorial. Today we'll be diving into what makes Linux unique and how you can get started using it. Linux is an open source operating system created by Linus Torvalds in 1991 and is known for its customizability, security, and strong community support. I'll also walk you through three of the most popular Linux distributions, which are Ubuntu, Fedora, and Debian. And I'll show you different ways to access Linux, like dual booting using a virtual machine or running it from a live CD or USB. Whether you're new to Linux or just looking to brush up your skills, this video will give you the foundation you need to start using Linux with confidence. So let's jump right in. So Linux was created in 1991 by Linus Torvalds as an open source alternative to proprietary operating systems like Windows. So what makes Linux unique is its customizability, open source nature, and strong security features, making it less vulnerable to malware. The operating system is developed by a global community, ensuring continuous updates and support. Linux is used in everything from personal computers to servers and embedded systems, demonstrating its scalability and versatility. There are many versions of Linux distributions, but I will be briefly going over the three most popular distributions, which are Ubuntu, Fedora, and Debian. So here's a quick rundown of each. So Ubuntu is a user-friendly Linux distribution based on Debian. It's developed by Canonical. It's widely used for desktop servers and cloud computing. So Ubuntu has long-term support versions, making it a stable choice for many users. Fedora, on the other hand, is a cutting-edge Linux distro backed by Red Hat. It's known for integrating the latest technologies and is often used by developers and power users. Um, so Fedora serves as a testing ground for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And then Debian is one of the oldest and most stable Linux distributions, known for its strong commitment to free software. It serves as a foundation for many other distros, including Ubuntu. Debian is popular for its reliability and extended package repository. So each three of these Linux versions has its strengths. Ubuntu is great for beginners. Fedora is ideal for those who want to access the latest features, and Debian is a rock solid choice for stability. So to access Linux, there are three common methods, which are number one, dual boot, two, virtual machine, and three, live CD or USB. So if you use dual boot or do the dual boot method, this involves installing Linux alongside an existing operating system um, on your computer. You can choose which OS to boot it into when you start the machine. It requires partitioning your hard drive and installing Linux on a separate partition, allowing both operating systems to coexist. Number two is a virtual machine. So with a virtual machine, like VirtualBox or VMware, you can run Linux inside your current OS without altering your system's partition. The VM emulates hardware, allowing you to install and run Linux as a virtualized environment, making it a great option for testing or using Linux without affecting your main OS. And then the third option is a live CD or USB. So this would run Linux directly from a bootable disk or USB stick without installing it to your computer's hard drive. This method allows you to try using Linux without um, making any permanent changes to your system. So don't worry, we'll walk through essential commands step by step. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have a solid understanding of how to navigate um, and manage files in a Linux environment. To make this more practical, we'll set up a company directory structure where the main company directory represents our business. Subdirectories like HR, sales, and IT represent different departments, and then files inside these directories or the subdirectories like HR, sales, and IT are going to represent the employee records. So let's get started. All right, so step number one is to set up the directory structure. So we're going to create the company directory and its departments. So you're going to want to open up your terminal and enter these following commands. I'll explain these commands as I go, but um, don't be too scared or like nervous if you don't really understand them right away. I'll explain them later in the video. But we're going to start off with one command, which is mkdir. So this just basically means make directory. So you're making a brand new directory. Right now, our directory that we're in is tutorials, so I'm using it for the sake of this video, but we're going to make our main directory we're going to be working with in this video, which is the company directory. And we're going to do cd company in order to change our directory to company. So we're no longer in the tutorials directory, we're now in the company directory. And then we're going to make the subdirectories for the company directory. And we're going to make these the same way we did the company directory. And we're going to do mkdir, hr, sales, and IT. So the good thing about Linux is that it doesn't have you do different commands for multiple, if you want to create multiple directories or files, you just literally list them in the same line just with a space. So we're going to make a directory inside company with these three directories, HR, sales, and IT. Click enter, and we're going to change the directory once again. So we're going to go to our HR directory. So go ahead and do the cd command and go to HR, and now we're in the HR directory, or the subdirectory, should I say. And then from here, we're gonna make some files. So not another directory, but some files. So the way you make files in this instance, we're gonna do touch, and we're going to, so these files are just essentially going to be employee records. So you're going to do touch. So touch just basically is a command to make files. So we're going to do alice.txt and bob.txt. Recall how I said that you don't need to separate any kind of uh, commands for making multiple files at once. You just put a space between them. And then, yeah, so you're gonna notice um, the txt after the name. So basically, what the txt is, it's basically just a kind of a file type. So it's a text file. So if you're, if you have like a code or something for like C++, you'll notice it'll be like alice.cpp if that was like your code name, or if it's Python, you'll do like alice.py. It just depends what kind of file it is. But for this case, we're gonna do alice.txt and bob.txt. So since we have those already, we're gonna go ahead and switch our directory to sales. So notice how after the CD I put two dots. So the reason why I put two dots is because when you put those two dots, it tells Linux to go back one level. So going back one level from HR is going to take me back to company. If I had just put CD, it's going to take me to my main like user file like all the way back. So I don't want that. So you would just put the CD dot dot and then slash and then the directory you want to go to within company. So now we're in sales, and then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna make two text files. Let's do Carol and Dave.txt. And then we're gonna do the same thing. So cd dot dot slash oops, IT. Now we're in the IT directory, and we're gonna make two files for Eve and Frank. All right, and then we're gonna go back to our company directory by doing cd dot dot. So I just explained what we just did. So now that we have a structured environment, let's explore some key Linux commands. So if you want to list the contents of a directory, you would use the ls command. So this basically just lists the directories or the files within the directory. So in this case, it's these are subdirectories. So it's HR, IT, and sales, which we made earlier. Um, and the way you're gonna differentiate a directory versus a file is a file usually has like a indicator whether what kind of file it is. Like I did .txt for this, but you might also see like .cpp and .py. It's kind of harder to tell on a Mac if they're different because like they're all the same color. But if you like do it on like Ubuntu or something, they're all different colors, so it's kind of better that way. But you know, it's not the end of the world. Um, but yeah, so this will show again the HR, the IT, and the sales. So remember Linux is case sensitive, so if you type in like ls HR, it might not work. So because we made it in the capitalized, so just be wary of that. Um, and then if you want a detailed view of the files, so like let's change our directory to HR. If you want a detailed view, you can use ls dash l, and then this will give us the files, um, and then it also shows the permissions, so who can read, write, or execute the files right here. So read, write, um, or execute. So R stands for read, W stands for write, and then X for execute. The owner and group, uh, the file size, and then the last modified date. If you feel that your terminal is getting too cluttered, you can just do the clear command and then it literally clears everything. Um, but yeah, so in order to view the file contents, you can use one of two commands, either more or cat. Um, these are just two separate commands, but I'm just typing them out for reference. So to read an employee file, you would do more slash, more hr slash alice.txt, and then this just lists out the contents within Alice's employee records or text file in this case. But since we don't have anything in there, it's not going to really list anything out. You can do the same if you do like cat. You can do cat hr slash alice.txt, and since we don't have anything, obviously it's not going to output anything. But just be careful because cat displays the entire file at once, which can be overwhelming for larger files, and it can just end up flooding the terminal, which is not ideal. So I would just stick to doing more if it's like a relatively smaller file, so you can scroll down it and quit it whenever you want to. Um, but yeah, so as shown earlier, I shown you how to make directories in the beginning when we were making our environment. So we're gonna make our new directory with the command mkdir. Let's do marketing. So marketing. So we made our new marketing directory, and it's added to our company. So we're gonna talk about now moving and renaming files. So for this, we're gonna use the command mv. So mv is just short for move. Um, So let's say Alice transfers from HR to sales. We know that Alice has a employee record file underneath the HR department. So in order to move her from HR, we're gonna do mv hr slash alice.txt um, over to sales. So basically, what I did is I just got the alice.txt file from HR. So the way you would tell the terminal that is, hey, I want the alice text file from HR. So you would do hr slash alice.txt. And then you notice that if I want to move it to another file, I would put sales next to it with the slash. So you would do that, and then it would just move the file once you click enter. And then we use the same command if we want to rename a file. So let's say we want to rename the file Alice to, like, we just have it as Alice. Let's say we want to put her last name now, right? So we're going to move the file from sales, which is alice.txt, not move, but rename. And then we can rename it. We have to put sales Alice. Let's rename it to Alice Johnson. So you'll notice that I did the mb command, and I did sales slash alice.txt and then sales slash alice underscore johnson.txt. So notice how I'm not moving anything. I'm just uh you know basically restating this by adding something else to the name. As you can see, if we change directory to what is it, sales, and then list it, we can see that Alice Johnson has been moved from HR to sales, and we've renamed the file from Alice just like alice.txt to alicejohnson.txt. So yeah, so now it's the same thing to rename a department. So let's say we want to rename IT to tech. It's literally just the same thing. So MV IT tech right here. So notice how you don't have to put any slashes because you're not really going to indicate a file. You're just like just giving the terminal um, the directory names. So you're going to do MV IT tech, and then it's gonna change the name to tech. So if we list directories, it's going to give us HR, marketing, sales, and tech instead of IT now. So let's say you want to navigate between directories. So we've already been using cd, but I'm going to introduce a new command, which is pwd. So let's say we move to sales, right? Let me clear the terminal first because it's getting a little cluttered. Let's say we move to sales, right? So now we're in the sales directory, and let's say um, you lose track of what directory you're in, or which directory, which subdirectory belongs to what directory. It just gets kind of confusing. So if you want to know where you're at, you would print pwd, um, and they would tell you that sales is within company, and that's within tutorials, and that's within my user file. So um, you know, it just prints the current working directory you're in. Um, and then we've already done this a little bit, but instead of moving step by step, we can use full paths. So instead of doing cd hr, oops, so let me go back a little bit. So cd hr, and we can move bob.txt uh, to sales. That was a whole lot of work to, just move one file. So we can resolve that by using a path name. Um, so basically, it's just the same thing as we were doing earlier. So mv, we're gonna do sales. We're gonna move Bob back from sales to HR. So we're gonna do mv sales slash Bob, oops, bob.txt, and then back to HR slash. So you see how that's way easier than doing all of this to move an employee to another department. So you could just do it with one line right here instead of doing every single um, different statement for it. Um, but yeah, this just saves time. And then if we want to copy employee records, we use the command cp. So this is just short for copy. So let's say HR needs a copy of Carol's file for legal reasons. We can duplicate it. So let's do cp. We indicate what directory it's in. So cp sales slash Carol.txt. And we want to duplicate over to HR. So do HR slash, and then let's do cd sales, and then we can list it. Oops, we can list it, and we'll notice that we have a Carol text file here. But if we go back to let's see, HR, we'll see that Carol's text file is also here because we just duplicated it. So now Carol's file exists in both departments. So let's say you want to remove file. So if Bob, let's say Bob leaves the company, right, and his record needs to be deleted, we would just do the command rm. Bob is in HR, so we do hr slash bob.txt. So let me list that out first. That way I can show you guys how this works. So Bob is here, right, currently, and let's say we want to remove Bob from the HR department. Let's say like he just got fired or something. We do bob.txt, and then when we change directory back to HR and list it, he is no longer going to be there because we just removed him. The only thing that I would be really careful about is um, just the entire command itself, because there's no undo button. So like once you remove it, then they're gone. So if you have like some really important file, and you do like rm and then you put the file name, it's gonna be completely gone. Same thing for a directory. Um, but yeah, I'll show you guys how to do it with the directory also. For removing a directory, it's the same thing. So rm, but instead of just rm, we add dir. So let's say marketing gets shut down because the company is like cutting funds, or they just want to save money. We can shut down marketing, right? So we do rmdir and then do marketing after. So marketing, and then this removes uh, our marketing directory at all. And it was still like employee file names, or sorry, employee files in there, we can remove it um, completely by we just do rm/r, I mean -r marketing, and oops, and then it would just remove it. So that would be for non-empty directories. So if they currently have files in there, then you would use that command. Um, so let's call back to when I stated permissions about file permissions when you do ls-a. So, or ls-l, sorry. So if we do ls-l, let's do sales, right? So let's do, oops, what am I doing? So let's change the directory to sales. If we do ls-l, it's gonna give us the files within our sales directory. So in order to understand this, we need to know what each of these mean, right? So the permissions. So R stands for read, W stands for write, and there should be an X here if you're able to execute the file. So it would be RWX if you could execute it, and then these are all the same. So the three groups here, so one, two, three, they are user, group, and others. So in Linux, they're referred to just as U, G, and O. We want to give sales full access to the alice_johnson.txt file. We do chmod U, which stands for user, and then we're adding a permission. So we're gonna add, let's say, read, write, and execute sales slash alice underscore Johnson dot txt. So if we list this again, let me see. We change the directory to sales and then ls-l. You'll see that we have now added, well, we don't really need to add the read and write uh, permission because it was already there, but let's just pretend we just added the X by itself. Then we have just added the execute permission for the Alice_Johnson text file right here. Similarly, if we wanted to do that for um, the group column, we would just do the same command except for a U, you would do a G and then add, um, like they don't have writing and executing permissions, so we would just do WX and do sales again slash Alice_Johnson dot txt. Did I misspell something? Sorry, that was my fault. Because we already are in the sales directory, we don't need to do sales slash Alice_Johnson dot txt. So we just use chmod G plus WX Alice_Johnson dot txt. And then when we list these again, so ls-l, you're gonna see that I've added permissions to the group column, which is just write and execute. Um, but yes, all right. So let's say we want to remove write access, or read, write, and executing access from others. So let's change our working directory to sales. We're gonna list um, the files, and we'll change the access for the user group. So let's say we do chmod minus um, we do chmod sorry, u minus read, write, and execute, and then we do Alice_Johnson dot txt. So when we list these again, you're going to notice that the the user group doesn't have any access to um, any reading, writing, or executing access to the file. So that's how you remove access to any kind of file within a directory. Let's do another quick example for the revoking permissions from other groups. So I mentioned the first column was the users, the second was the groups, and the third one is the others. Let's remove the reading permission from the others group. So it would just literally be the same thing. Instead, you're gonna do cho minus, sorry, chmod o minus r and list the file name. So alicejohnson.txt. And then you'll notice that when we list these again, I've removed it from the third column. So just make sure to uh, specify when you're doing the command, whether you want it to change a user, group, or other permissions. And then if we want to apply the same permissions to all files, um, we can do chmod g plus rw sales, and then we can list it. Sorry, we can do cd and then go to sales and then list the sales. Yeah, so you've just applied the same permissions to all the files, which is just the reading and writing the to the group file. So yeah, so essentially we just added the reading and writing permissions um, to the group column. So you might notice how I used an asterisk here. So basically that's a wildcard. So they are wildcards in Linux. So these are basically just characters that allow you to use a single specification to indicate a number of resources whose names match the wildcard pattern. So let's say we want to list all of the um, all of the .txt files, right? So we'll just do ls um, asterisk .txt. So this literally lists all of the .txt files. So this little asterisk just means all. So list all .txt files, and then it'll list all of them. And then if we want to list files with exactly a certain amount of characters, so like let's say we only want to list files with um, 4 characters. So like let's say Dave is going to be called when we do this command. Let's add another one. So um we'll do touch. What's another 4-letter name? Earl. So earl.txt. Um we'll list them again, and then if we want to call files with just 4 letters in the name, or 4 characters, sorry, we'll do ls .txt. Oops. And then it'll list the files with 4 characters in them. So those are just an example of two wildcards you can use in Linux. There are others, but I'm not gonna be going through those in this video. Um, and then just the last command I want to go over is just checking user groups. Um, let me see. So literally, this would just you can just check what groups you belong to. So like I would just type in groups and then it would list out the groups you belong to and what files you so you can know what files you have access to. This is just useful for managing access control. So that brings me to the end of my video. It was a pretty lengthy video, but I just wanted to explain everything in depth. If you guys have any questions, just make sure to comment down below. And yeah, so by now you should have learned how to navigate directories, list files, view file contents, move, rename, copy, and delete files, manage permissions, um, and I think that's about it. So yeah, just keep practicing these commands, and soon you'll be navigating Linux like a pro. So let me know if you have any questions, again in the comments below, and then just like and subscribe, and yeah, that's all I have. Thanks, guys.